Well, I think the first thing to say is that when you're looking at a mom and pop, it makes me salivate when I see that they just have a web page and they're not able to take leasing online. When they're still just have a phone number for somebody to call in and rent a unit. You want to be able to offer that to your tenant base to be, particularly in this time period, touchless, so that they could actually go all the way through of selecting that unit and leasing that unit online. And so if you don't, what we found is that, and we used to run a software package, and I won't name it at this point in time, but all it did was take reservations. And that's technically what these mom and pop operators are doing, is they're taking a reservation over the phone. Most of them won't even take credit cards over the phone. You got to come in. They need a driver's license. They need you to sign the lease. So that reservation, it basically becomes a hurdle, because what that customer is looking for, as Chris has said in the past, it's an immediate need. If you aren't going to satisfy that immediate need of renting that unit, they're going to go find somebody who can. So that digital aspect is huge from our operational standpoint. Some of the other things are, they need to be able, as they're driving by and they have their own personal device, they need to be able to pull it up and look and find out who you are, because once again, they're not recognizing you because of the brand, they're recognizing you because of the doors. Being able to get to you, have a map there, be able to get to the site in general is huge. And then we can get into things like, SEO and AdWords searches and things along those lines that really bolster your visibility to the digital market. And if you don't have that aspect, you're really at a disadvantage, because if you're competing against the REITs, you're never going to outspend them.
Yeah, I think, Adam, another thing to think about with the tech piece, Todd talked about how do we get people there through tech, right? The conversion of those tenants. The other piece is, how do we manage much of our information internally? One of the interesting parts about self-storage, because of 30-day leases, is the pricing algorithms that run our operations team are very complex and they're very dynamic. And so when you think about some of the tech that feeds us the data of, okay, where is pricing in this market specific for a unit type? Because remember, there's, in a particular facility, 5 to 8 different unit types, maybe more between climate and non-climate, and you have a different pricing set on all of these. So when someone pulls up their phone and says, hey, I want to rent a 10 by 10 unit that's climate controlled, we need to make sure we are competitive in the marketplace for a 10 by 10 climate control, and that could change daily. And so for us, we have some pretty sophisticated algorithms that are looking at the amount of occupancy for a particular unit type and adjusting pricing based off of that, right? So if we're full in 10 by 10 climate control, well, we're going to raise that price, right? Because a new person coming in, we know in the market, well, generally there's not a lot of supply for them. So that tech is allowing our operations team to be very dynamic with the pricing structure.
The best way I like to describe it is, we only have one way to balance supply and demand once we're operating, and that's through price. So, to Chris's point, you can think of all the seasonality that happens with self-storage. People are normally renting, the peak season is April to August or September. And that varies based upon what market you're in. If you're down in Florida, the peak season actually is October through March. And, that's when the snowbirds go down there. But you've got to be able to balance that supply and demand with that pricing, and you've got to be able to react, in a instantaneously, just in time manner, in order to really peak out your efficiencies on those individual unit types and their rates.